Whoa, how are you doing? My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative, and this is Chattin On The Porch. A fun little thing we do Monday through Thursday nights, usually around 7:30 Eastern, sometimes around 6. But otherwise, we are definitely occupying the space in the evening hours of the day. Glad to have you guys here with us tonight. We are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, and we are on that quaint little alternative social media platform known as YouTube. So anyway, glad to have you guys here. Tell your friends, tell your frenemies, your enemies, your mothers, your lovers, your brothers, your sisters, and your misters. Give them the link and tell them, get your butts in here. Because we're going to have some fun this evening. I've got a really great guest tonight who I've been on a couple of live streams with him, and the more I'm finding out, the more I'm like, yeah, we got to talk to this dude. Because he's definitely moving and shaking things. But we're going to talk about all that, have a load of fun doing it, and otherwise have a nice beginning of the weekend. Well, this is the pre-beginning of the weekend, I guess you call it. I don't know. Anyway, my name is Brian Trippett. Again, I am the Front Porch Conservative. I am sometimes known in social media as the fine fella in the fedora. Sometimes I'm called the common man with common sense. But in this moment, as always, above all else in the universe, I am your host. Again, we are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, and we are on YouTube. So please, share the link out. Tell your friends. Get everybody in here. Hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to my channel. Really, subscribe to my channel. I would genuinely appreciate it. And I'd like for you to subscribe to this young man's channel as soon as you get the chance to be introduced to him. So again, glad to have you guys here. It is Thursday night. You have almost made it through another week. And can you believe it? You've almost made it to the end of the year. It is shocking how fast time is going by for all of us. Oh, my Lord. My Lord, it is just straight crazy, guys. Just straight crazy. How you kids doing out there tonight? Glad to have y'all here. As always, give me 1 second because I have had me a day running around doing what I do, and it has just been absolutely nuts. Okay, there, I think I've got that straightened out now. Oh, let us see who is in the house. We'll start with the YouTube side. Good evening, Miss Gypsy. Oh, yes, we saw some of that. We will be talking about that this weekend on Front Porch Brunch. You know we're going to get into that subject. Miss Shia, good evening. Mwah. And Gypsy, mwah. Almost forgot. Hello, lovely Lana. Mwah. Lovely ladies of the YouTube side. Glad to have y'all here. Let's see, who else is in the house? Let's stroll on over to Rumble. WWG1, I see all those fantastic links, and I am going to save them for Saturday. So, yes, your efforts shall not be in vain, and we will definitely be taking a look at all that because that looks just like all kinds of fun. Let's see, who else is here? My Morning Mayhem, Chris. Welcome, sir. Glad to have you in the house. Captain Curfew MPDC. Well, all right then. Got somebody new in the house. I've never quite seen you before, but welcome in. Glad to have you. But perhaps most of all on the Rumble side tonight, we have a lady who is primarily responsible for my guest and I being brought together this evening. Leah the Bookish. Leah, my love. Now, let me explain why it is this young lady is most responsible for the live stream that we are going to be a part of tonight. A while back, she messaged me through Twitter and said, hey, there's this guy. He's got a new channel. He started back in February. He's going like gangbusters. He's a lot like you. He's covering news and content. He's got all kinds of stuff going on. You guys have got to get together and talk. Well, given that I am old and slow, these things take a little bit of time. Well, then in September, she's like, hey, I want to thank, this is International Podcasters Day, and I want to thank My Morning Mayhem and Third Railify and the Front Porch Conservative. And then she mentioned this fellow again. And I thought, okay, all right, it's time to get these cats on the porch. So I've talked with Chris from My Morning Mayhem. I've talked with that crazy Canadian Sean from the Third Railify, and that brings me to the last of them. The young man that I'm about to introduce you guys to is somebody who you really need to keep an eye on, if for no other reason for his content, but I've got a feeling that before it's all said and done, he's going to make his mark in the world. He's a young man who hails from the Keystone State, and we're going to get into some discussions about how big that was this year. He is a business owner, he is a content creator, and more than anything else, he is the proprietor of his own Rumble channel known as the WashCast. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please help me welcome to the electronic front porch, Mr. Robert Herr. Robert, how are you doing tonight, sir?
Don't worry. That cocaine you spilled, it's fine. I cleaned it up. We're good.
Allegedly. Yes, allegedly that I spilled. There are strange rumors in that regard. So there you go. How you doing tonight, brother?
Good, man. Good. It was a nice long day of playing in the snow, so that was interesting to say the least.
Okay. All right. All righty then.
I'm kind of in the snow belt, so Erie has been getting slammed, and I'm not far south from there. And oh man, it's been ugly. It's been an ugly week.
I heard earlier that Buffalo had gotten like, what is it, 6 feet, something like that? Am I hearing that correctly, or something to that effect?
Yeah, there was a town. It's about 20 minutes west of Erie that got 5 feet of snow in 72 hours.
Oh my God!
It was brutal. I was not happy.
Gee, imagine that. Okay, so now refresh my memory. There's Buffalo. Now, is there Erie, New York, and Erie, Pennsylvania? In other words, does the state border cross through the town?
So yeah, there's Erie County, New York, which is right there closer to like the southern tier.
Okay.
And then you've got Erie County in Pennsylvania, and I believe there's an Erie County in Ohio as well.
Oh Lord,
it's a damn lake.
The damn lake is probably the good way to put it. So the damn lake. I mean, and Erie apparently couldn't make up its mind which state it wanted to hang out in. Apparently, from the sound of it.
Well, which country it wanted to hang out in? Because funny enough, the crazy Canadian is like directly due north of me. So if I could walk on water, I'd be going to see him.
Oh God!
Yeah.
You realize if we mention his name long enough, it's kind of like Beetlejuice. Probably the third time we bring up Sean's name, he's going to wind up flying into the Rumble chat and be like, "You rang," So there you go.
And then the entire chat gets derailed. Pun intended.
Now you're not saying that he tends to wander around the topics a little bit now, are you?
I would use the term dance, like Indian rain dance. It's just a bunch of stomping and screaming, and it vaguely resembles music.
No, I was thinking more like an Indian on speed, maybe like doing the with a or something like that. Sound like a cross between an Indian on speed and one of the Three Stooges.
I'll tell you, he's a fantastic creator. I mean, the way he
Sean's amazing.
Off,
mind blowing. Yeah, he genuinely is just amazing. But speaking of creators, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Sean. I love Chris. We are here to talk about you and your channel tonight. So for the purposes of my beloved Fedora Nation, who may or may not, some of them be familiar with you, let's just start with the most basic things. Tell us who you are. Tell us where you grew up. And then we'll go from there with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Robert Herr, Real Robert Herr on X.
Okay.
Feel free to give me a follow there. I'm from the lovely, and I'm trying to get rid of the sarcasm in my voice. It's very hard. The lovely Keystone State of Pennsylvania, the lovely communist wealth, as I like to call it. I've been here most of my life. Traveled around the country a little bit. Did a little bit of time in Vegas. Family's originally from the DC area, so I'm a little familiar with the DC swamp.
Okay.
Funny enough, Captain Curfew, who's in the chat, is my my Aunt Paula. She's actually a retired DC police force captain. So
All
she
right.
was up close and personal with the swamp. But yeah, I got into content creation this past March, so it hasn't been that long. It's been, a relatively new thing for me. I started a business back in 2022, so
Okay.
just trying to keep myself busy because idle mind is the devil's workshop. So
Yeah. I've often joked around with people that if I'm given too much free time, I start trying to figure out ways how to take over banana republics in South America, and that's just not a good thing for anybody. Favors get called in, flights get made, stuff gets dropped in the jungle. It's
look, there's
just a
plenty of
mess.
islands out there that there's only, a handful of people on. You could be the supreme leader without even so much as a coup.
Yeah, but an island is no challenge. I mean, think about it. If you take over a small banana republic somewhere in the middle of South America, okay, first of all, you have to navigate your way around the neighboring countries, which to me is more of a challenge. It's like, okay, how do I get my guys inside to do their thing so I can get to places to make things happen? It's like, why walk through an open door when you can pick the lock?
Well,
That's more fun.
technically you could get in the same way you got the cocaine, allegedly, which is the cartel.
Allegedly.
That's the way to do it.
Allegedly, yeah. Felipe calls Raul. Raul calls Francois. Francois comes up from New Orleans, and things happen. Yeah. Okay. All right. I see your point. Fair enough.
The
Now,
cartels are your best friend or your worst enemy. Just depends on which side of the aisle you're on and which direction the money's going.
what was that movie Tom Cruise starred in, where he played that airplane pilot, Barry? God, why is his last name escaping me right now?
I don't think
Tom,
Top Gun, are you?
no. This is a Tom Cruise movie called American. What was it? Where Tom Cruise played a pilot from back in the 80s who was flying guns and drugs for the Contras and the CIA, and he was working for the CIA.
Oh, American Made.
Yeah, American Made. That's the movie. And now that we're talking about this, I'm having shades of that flash through my head. So you mentioned your parents originally were from DC. You grew up in the DC area and then started moving around. What were
I've
your
grown
parents?
up in Pennsylvania my whole life. My
Okay.
family is originally from the DC area.
Okay. So tell us about your mom and dad. What did they do in the swamp?
So both of them were kind of in blue collar jobs.
Okay.
My aunt was the overachiever. Sorry, Aunt Paula. Gotta throw you under the bus on that one. She was the overachiever. The college graduate, master's degree, and then getting into law enforcement, things like that. She's far more exciting than my parents. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
My parents were the typical like hippie type. They had their fun. We'll leave it at that.
Leave it right there. Yeah.
We'll leave it right there.
Because your parents could be watching this live stream at some point and go, boy, you don't need to tell everything you know.
They can hardly text. We're good.
See, you say that. They're the ones helping me take over the Banana Republic in South America. You just don't know about this.
I could see it. There's enough cocaine connections to go around, allegedly.
Allegedly. Okay, so you grew up in Pennsylvania most, if not all, your life. Did a stint out in Vegas. So how old were you when you were out in Vegas?
18.
Ooh, that's an interesting age to be in Vegas at.
Yeah.
Not
old enough to have any fun in the big clubs, but I got my little back doors into some of the small bars. Like there was one right off of Fremont Street, or in close proximity, called Backstage Bar and Billiards. And so I went out there, got there two days before New Year, and so I spent my New Year's Eve in a green room with all the guys from Papa Roach, Adelita's Way, and Vince Neil from Motley Crue.
Okay.
That was an interesting night.
And you would have been 18 in what year?
That would have been end of 2013 into 2014.
Okay, so 2013. So that makes you about what, 28, 29 right now?
29, yeah. I'll be 30. The big 30 in February.
talk to me when you hit 50. Then you get, but of course, by that point, you have to visit me in the old social media folks' home,
There you
and
go.
be like, "Hey, where's front porch? Hey, here's a youngster. How you doing there, sonny boy? I remember you back in the day." And be like, "All right, put a shawl around him, get him his Metamucil, and give him another oat bran muffin. He's ready for a nap." Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So one of the things my business actually does is we service nursing homes. We deliver medical supplies and drugs, pharmaceuticals. I'm a legal drug trafficker essentially.
Oh,
But
well.
so I'm very familiar with the nursing home, and don't worry, I won't let them beat you too hard.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, because I have a running joke with a friend of mine. Because I was telling the lady about this the other evening, and there's a phrase that was used some time back when I was an undergraduate in college, and I'm at that point where the phrase is very applicable. I'm young enough not to be old, but I'm old enough not to be young. Now, that would be one thing, except that I'm seeing all these, 20 something, no offense to you, 20 somethings coming up behind me. And I'm sitting here going, ain't no way in the world I'm letting you take care of me in the senior citizen center. Okay. No, it's not happening. So my workout buddy and I have a pact that when it gets to the point that either I or she realize that I'm not quite cutting the mustard anymore, I'm going to put my affairs in order. And one day I will be walking down the street and I'm going to hear the following. A poison dart's going to go in my neck and I'm out.
Yep.
But it won't happen until I give her the signal and go, okay, my stuff's in order. Everything's ready. And I don't want to know when.
Make sure you have the cane for the curtain call.
Yep. So
stepping in front of a bus might be,
No,
just
I don't want that either. Oh, the other option I always used to joke about. I want to be at my favorite restaurant. I want to have a New York strip steak prepared in front of me, just the way I want it. I want a baked potato smothered in butter.
There you go.
I want a cigar in one hand. I want a drink in the other, and I want a gorgeous woman in my lap. And out. Because how else can you possibly go?
Well, I mean, I've always said I wanted to either go having sex or taking a shit, because you're going to traumatize somebody in the process. So it's one last kind of.
Did you know that's how Elvis died?
Yeah, it was on the toilet, wasn't it?
Yeah. That's right. And most people, when they got when they heard the coroner's report, because the coroner's report said Elvis died of a heart attack. Technically speaking, that is true. Because what actually happened was his intestines were so impacted from all the drugs that he took. There he is, visiting the necessary, trying to do his business. And, as, men and women are prone to do. Well, the vagal nerve is attached at one end.
Yep.
And the vagal nerve runs to the heart. He basically shocked the vagal nerve so hard that it hit the heart and gave him a heart attack.
My God.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So, I mean, the coroner was absolutely right. He died of a heart attack.
They just didn't say.
The coroner's report didn't say more specifically, he died of a heart attack because he could not, relieve himself due to all the drugs he had taken. So
crazy. All the opioids, guaranteed.
Small time. If I find out Harry Sisson is working at a senior citizen center, and no.
Look, Harry Sisson could never work in a nursing home.
Why is that?
Well, if you look at the guy, his lips are trying to run away from his face, so he must be scary. His chin, he's giving Jay Leno a run for his money. The only good he's going to do in a nursing home is as a scarecrow. Keep the birds from pecking at the old people. That's it. It's the only chance he's got.
Okay.
I mean, look, he did well with Biden though, holding his hand and you know
Okay.
that.
Okay.
But
All right.
he tweeted and he said Biden really touched me. We all know what that meant. Just
Oh, Lord.
saying.
Okay. Well, all right. Yes, my chat is advising me. Can we please get back on topic here? It's like, okay, fair enough. All right. So you said you mentioned the business, and it's a logistical business. You service nursing home. What other businesses does your organization serve?
So currently, it's it's the medical field. I'm building out a more traditional last mile delivery program,
Okay.
but that takes some time because you got to have your middle mile and trucking companies to do the line haul, and eventually there's going to be a warehouse investment, things like that. So a lot of it right now is working on getting aggregated into the shipper systems. So being able to get competitive rates in, and that's proving to be the challenge because everything we do is customized. I don't have a blanket pricing or a matrix that I use to price everything out. It's all done one-to-one with the business owner. It's geared towards small business. So as far as working with like the large companies, you'll probably never see me delivering for a Walmart or a Target. I have no interest in it. I want to give power back to small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And it came from this. I was at FedEx, or like I like to tell people, I did time in federal, uh, and part of that time was during the pandemic, and through that short period of time, which it seemed short because we were all busting our balls, but through that period of time, I watched small mom and pops and even medium-sized businesses boarding up their windows, shutting down, and I watched all of the freight that we were getting transition from a diverse amount of freight from a ton of different shippers to
Mm-hmm.
a bunch more Walmart and a bunch more Target. Um, it was so disgusting to watch because surge pricing was through the roof. All the major carriers were charging a fortune because the demand was so high,
Mm-hmm.
and small and medium-sized businesses didn't get a chance to compete.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to try to build out something starting in my little neck of the woods that was geared towards those mom and pops. They give them a fair shot to
Mm-hmm.
where, we might not be the biggest company in the world, but when it comes down to peak time, the holidays or tax season, they have another option.
Right. Right. So I would imagine that President-elect Trump's proposals on, drilling, fracking, reducing the cost of energy, reducing the cost of gasoline is just music to your ears as a business owner.
Oh, it absolutely is. The only thing that I will say is because I like to give credit where it's due, but I also like to hit back when it's necessary.
Okay.
Tariffs make me nervous.
Okay.
And the only reason I say that is because a lot of small and medium-sized businesses are now very reliant on China, and global companies, things like Alibaba, that
Mm-hmm.
and AliExpress, where they can buy a lot of bulk for very, very cheap.
Right.
And so when you start putting massive tariffs in place without having infrastructure here in the States to back it up, it,
Mm-hmm.
it gets it gets a little dicey.
So you started the business in 2022, which means you would have seen the full-on practical effects of Secretary of Transportation Buttigieg's policies
Yeah,
about,
booty juice.
among other nicknames he's given. You would have seen the effects of dock worker policy, um, supply chain policy, and then you're having to move. I mean, does your business? I mean, where do you guys wind up picking it up? Or I mean, are you guys from like the docks to the small business, or are you guys somewhere in the middle, and then you're delivering to the end customer?
So it's a mix. It's all to the end customer ultimately, but it's a mix of B2B, so business to business, and then breaking into that kind of e-commerce business to consumer. As of the moment, everything is kind of direct pickup. So, and even when we start building the traditional last mile out, the goal is to send out cargo vans and straight trucks directly to stores or DCs and pick up the product and get it there next day, guaranteed.
Okay. All right. So how many employees have you got in your business now?
So as far as employees go, it's a 3-person team.
Okay. Wow.
And then the rest is all independent contractors.
Okay.
So it kind of comes back to, aside from, removing a little bit of liability,
Sure.
and avoiding some taxes in the process. Allegedly, Big Brother, if you're listening, I pay my taxes. Thank you. But part of that was I wanted to be able to build a network out of entrepreneurs that want to either work for themselves or they have an aspiration of starting a business. So if I can bring in one master contractor that has 5 or 6 drivers underneath them and give that guy an opportunity to run a business, I would much rather do that than have this massive internal conglomerate, because I'm a firm believer that competition makes everybody better. So if I bring in a guy that has 10 drivers underneath him and he says, you know what, you're a dick, I'm out. I'm going to go start my own thing. And that guy comes in and gives me a run for my money. Great. I've got to do better. So it's ultimately, it's all about this era of, we're entering an era of decentralization in every form of life.
Absolutely.
It started with the gig economy with things like Uber and DoorDash and things like that. And you're starting to see that branch out into almost every single industry known to man.
Yeah.
And so rather than fight that and try to keep people, under lock and key and say, no, you work for me, I want people to be able to run their own business, because it is despite the stress, it is the most freeing feeling in the world to know that the only person you have to answer to is yourself.
Yeah, that's very true, especially in the area of content creation, which we'll get to in just a second. But since it's the top of the hour, let me do a real quick commercial for both of us. My name is Brian Trippett. I'm the Front Porch Conservative. You can find me on Rumble and YouTube, and I'm also on Twitter at the Front Porch C1. This gentleman right over here is Mr. Robert Herr, or Real Robert Herr on Twitter. You can also find him on Rumble with a channel called the WashCast. No scripts, no filters, no beep. It all comes out in the wash. So let's get into that, shall we?
Yeah.
I mean, so here you are, a latter 20-something, and you're hustling, you're moving around, you're shaking and baking, you're doing your thing, and then all of a sudden, somewhere in March, you wake up one morning and go, you know what? I think I'd like to start a social media channel.
Yep.
Now, everybody gets into this insane world in which we find ourselves, and God bless everybody who's here, whether they be folks in chat who are gracious enough to spend their time with us, and God, I love all of you on Rumble and YouTube, and I think I can speak for Robert on that one as well. But what makes you wake up and say, you know what, I want to start a social media channel, I want to dive into the deep end of this pool? So you wake up one morning, you have that inclination, and what's going through your head?
So I'll be 100% honest.
Okay.
Everything that I do on my channel is 100% for my own self. It is.
What does that mean exactly?
So it's an exploration into personal growth. Because one of the things that I learned when I started the business, and it destroyed and shattered my entire worldview, was that I, in fact, do not know everything. And so I know, right?
Shocking.
So I wanted to start surrounding myself with people that knew better than I did, that had different life experiences, came from different walks of life. And I had always been really fascinated by the Joe Rogan format, where you see this guy brings on people from tons of different walks of life, different industries, incredibly intelligent people. And he learns so much throughout these conversations. So I'm thinking, if I can do something similar and maybe get a message out to people in the process, it's a win for me. It's a win for the audience. And hopefully it's a win for the guest.
Okay.
And I've translated that even into my professional life as well. I have this little thing I call virtual coffee. It's a 15-minute meeting. It's a quick, who are you? What do you do? How can how can we help each other? Boom. So it all kind of came back to that idea of every single conversation you have in your life, you have two options. You can let it be fleeting, or you can pick something up and learn something from it. And the goal for me is to never stop growing and never stop learning.
Okay.
And this has been a way to do that.
Okay, cool. So why the WashCast? I mean, you could have named it anything you want. So why does it get the name the WashCast?
That beautiful tagline, no scripts, no filters, no BS. It all comes out in the wash. And that was the line, it all comes out in the wash, was something that, it's a lesson I think everybody learns at some point in their life. And it's usually a very hard lesson, that it does, in fact, all come out in the wash. And it doesn't matter how much lipstick you put on the pig. At the end of the day, it's still a pig. So the idea was, companies like YouTube and Facebook for a long time, really, they censored people. They shut them down. And if we've learned anything from this last 4 years, it's that the truth lies a lot.
That's an interesting way of phrasing it. What do you mean the truth lies?
Well, so we've learned that there's an objective truth, and then there is, in this day and age, a subjective truth. Each side has their own stats, their own facts to back up their own argument. But ultimately, at the end of the day, despite the Biden administration's constant gaslighting of the American people, despite that their truth, at the end of the day, there's only one objective truth. And it all came out in the wash this election season when the American people all across the country, except for the blue bubbles, came together and delivered President-elect Trump, a mandate, a powerful mandate, straight across the board, Republican majorities. Ultimately, no matter how much you gaslight, there's only one objective truth, and the truth is the last 4 years didn't work.
Yeah.
So I wanted to try to bring in people that, whether they have a story to tell or, it's just something they're passionate about. Ultimately, I wanted to give people a platform to be able to say what they want and try to get a message out. I've been fortunate enough to gain a decent little following on X, despite the shadow banning. And so if I can use that to help someone else grow, or, at least like Chris and I did a show about faith, you can get a lot off your chest in that, in that time period. And if I can give someone a platform to be able to do that and myself take something away from it, I 100% want to. But I hate the scripted format of a lot of the podcasts and the shows you see, because it's mainstream media just on the internet with a lot of them.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And, that is something that I've been rolling around in my head now for, frankly, almost 2 years since I've been doing this. To me, this is one of the most remarkable times in history to be alive in the area of communication. Because now you have a dichotomy between, there's so many terms for the mainstream media, legacy media, dinosaur media, whatever you want to call it. But and some of the terms are pejorative. Some people have deliberate intent with those terms to be pejorative, but it's not really pejorative, because in the actuality, it describes a way of delivering news content, information content, entertainment content that, frankly, just doesn't work in the age of the internet. It really doesn't. And God love her, my mom and I'm not speaking ill of her. She watches Fox News a lot. Okay, she's, at a certain point in life. I get it. Not necessarily tech savvy. That's fine. Cool. And I'm not going to knock her for watching Fox News.
Right.
I almost cannot stand watching Fox News anymore. Now, there are a handful of personalities on there I love. I think Jesse Waters is great.
Yeah.
I think Gutfeld is great.
Yes.
Most of the rest of them, well, Shannon Bream. I love Shannon. She's cool. Most of the rest of them, and again, it's not a knock against them personally. I just can't stand it. Because to me,
I have no problem knocking Sean Hannity because I don't understand how he talks so much with Trump's dick in his mouth. I mean, I just being completely honest here. I mean, the guy is 100% a pundit, and he's a fangirl. That's all he is.
Yeah. Well, and the thing with Sean is, I mean, I have no objection to trying to be the first guy on the block to get the scoop or the interview or the whatever. Right. But man, he gets downright cutthroat about it. And I mean, I'm not going to go into other stories that I've heard, but I mean, the reason my detesting for watching Fox News, I hate the format of the delivery of information. All right, here I have a liberal, here I have a conservative, and we have a 2-minute block and we have a subject. What do you say, liberal? What do you say, conservative? No one can possibly understand the nuances of the issue in a 2-minute block, and then you go to a commercial. Rogan, to me, and don't get me wrong, as time goes by, provided he keeps his head screwed on straight, which he probably will. But Rogan, Theo Vaughn, name the content creator that you want to. Lex Friedman, Jimmy Dore, Megyn Kelly, Tucker. I mean, it comes down to guys like you, guys like me, guys like Chris, guys like Sean, et cetera, and so on, all over the internet. Mm-hmm. We are not constrained by the need for a commercial break. Commercials would be nice, sponsors would be good, but we're not constrained by it. Okay. Right. And we're not constrained.
I'm wearing my commercial right now.
There you go.
So it's a platform called Beehive. It's a newsletter platform. I'm partnered in with them, and they sent me a bunch of free stuff. So this is my commercial.
Okay. But I mean, to me, that interview that Rogan did with Trump, okay,
needle mover.
It wasn't even, and you know what? It wasn't even so much that he had Trump on. It's the fact that for 3 hours they sat there and talked about whatever hit their brains.
Yes.
Okay. And the thing that got me, and I take Rogan at his word on this one, and you can disagree with me if you want to. People kept asking, well, how come you can't get Kamala Harris to come on? He said, I want the woman to come on. I told her. It's like, look, I don't care if we do it in the morning. I don't care if we do it in the evening. I don't care if we do it at midnight. I'll buy you a 6-pack of Red Bulls. Sit down and let's just go at it.
Yep.
Couldn't get him to do it. Well, we need you to come to us, and it needs to be a 1-hour format, and we need to know what you're going to edit. And Joe looked at him and went, oh, honey, no, we don't. No. Papa don't roll like that. No.
And that's the beautiful thing about Rogan is he knows what his platform's worth. He got into a little bit of a heated argument with somebody at one point. And the guy was like, all right, well, I'll tell you what, if I'm right, then I get to do your programming for a week. And Rogan shut him down and was like, there's nothing that you have that you could possibly give me that's going to match up to a week of programming.
Yeah.
And the reason why is he's genuine. It's those conversations with, well, the one with Trump was a prime example. How many people did you see on social media after that were like, wait a minute, I was told this guy was Hitler. I was told he was an absolutely horrible person. And now after this interview, he's just a normal guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and I think we are, I mean, and I'm not original to this statement that I'm about to make next, but I think we are at the unique turning of a hinge point in history, in that going forward, and I don't necessarily mean this is confined to presidential politics or presidential elections or Capitol Hill's goings. I'm not talking about that. I mean the manner in which the American people, or just people around the world for that matter, acquire information is going to go in the direction of people sitting down. Okay, I'm driving in my car. I got to drive cross country or whatever. Hey, I want to pop on Rogan, or I want to pop on whoever it may be. Mm-hmm. Okay. And they don't have to worry about, being cut off or scripted or, it's just the free flow of information. It's glorious. It's absolutely glorious.
And the reason mainstream media is failing in that respect is because information moves at light speed.
Yeah.
And with that, people have learned to smell bullshit from a mile away.
Absolutely.
And that's why the media is failing. Mainstream media is dying rapidly.
Yeah.
It's insane to watch. But guys like Theo Vaughn and even some of the gaming streamers now, like Aiden Ross.
Aiden Ross, yeah, exactly.
They're becoming an alternative form of media now.
Yeah. It's just it's absolutely fascinating. And I don't think mainstream media realizes just how close they are to the edge of extinction. And I'm not trying to hype that statement. I really don't.
No, they have
in their mind, they still have power.
They I wouldn't even say they have power. They have money. That's about all they have at this point.
Yeah.
And that right there is the problem. Because these companies got so big and they started getting in to special interests.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden that controls them. Well, media in reality is coming full circle. Because if you go back, look at, the 1920s and so on, journalism was citizen journalism. It was people going out in the streets that were getting the scoop. They weren't pushing a narrative. They wanted to know what was happening and they wanted to get the information back to the people. And we're seeing that full circle with citizen journalism now. You have guys out, the man on the street interviews, as much as I despise them sometimes, the amount of information that you can gather from a 15-minute man on the street video, like I'm trying to think, Nick Shirey does a lot of these where he walks around, he goes into migrant shelters and everything else and just has conversations with people. And you learn the situation on the ground because he's not pushing a narrative.
Yeah.
He's showing people the cold hard facts. And that's something that the news does not want to do anymore. In fact, one of the things that irritates me about the media is if you go back to, 9/11 and after, the amount of foreign war correspondence was insane. And now on the media side, you don't see it. I just watched a 30-minute documentary the other day from this random X account that I followed. This guy's living in Ukraine right now, and he's documenting everything that's going on. 2 a.m. with artillery shells slamming the streets. And he's showing that first person perspective. Drones hovering above people in Ukraine, just citizens.
Yeah.
That are they're forced to take cover under trees because God knows what the hell's going to happen if they shoot a drone down and it, chunk of it comes off, hits somebody in the head, whatever.
Yeah.
They're showing a side of it that we don't get to see anymore because the media said, oh no, we can't put somebody out there that's going to expose us. It's gone back full circle.
It's funny because you're talking about people can smell BS a mile away. Different content creator in a different sphere of social media. Robert Herr Burnett.
Yes.
Who fantastic writer, among other things, involved in science fiction and stuff, Star Trek particularly. He had a phrase which a lot of folks in the nerd sphere have sort of picked up. Gary Beekler, Nerderotic, being one of them. Authenticity is the currency of the realm. The moment that your audience does not feel like you are authentic or sincere,
you're done.
They're gone. They're done and you're gone. And going to the man on the street interviews, Viva Fry, one of my absolute favorite content creators. Love that man.
Yes.
I happened to be up and about one Saturday morning, this before I ever started the channel. And, I popped on YouTube and there's Viva in downtown Toronto. Or no, it was Ontario, excuse me. Okay, Toronto. Let's just, wherever the capital of Canada is, okay? Yeah, Sean, where are you when I need you?
Right. He's not here when you need him. That was number 3, by the way. So
it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Anyway, so Viva takes his cell phone and I guess one of those things you hook on your arm, and there's the phone. And he's walking downtown and showing you the trucker rally and sort of it was like the Canadian version of Woodstock.
Yeah.
You got the truckers downtown. They're protesting the jabs and the everything else and all the policies of the Trudeau government and everything else. And I'm thinking, I'm getting more out of this guy taking a cell phone, walking around downtown capital, of Canada, than I've gotten out of anybody in the Canadian media telling me what the hell's going on up there, or anybody in the mainstream media in the U.S. telling me what the hell's going on up there. I mean, the mainstream media in the U.S. wouldn't cover it, but it just, to me, and I really want your take, because this is something else I want to ask you about, because this is a thought that I've been rolling around in my head for a few days, but I want your take on this. And I'm just going to limit this statement to myself.
Okay. I
think that I have made a mistake in my analysis about what's going to happen with the mainstream media in this respect. Now, hang on. I have said up to this point the mainstream media is dying. It hit me the other day. There is not inverse, a causal relationship between legacy media and the new media, us, okay? The Associated Press, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the three major, they run a story.
Yep.
What are we doing on social media? We're either commenting on it,
yep,
we're reacting to it, we're debunking it, but we're doing something in relation to somebody else. They've caused, we effect.
Yep.
Okay. I'm starting to wonder if the legacy media is not going to be like how do I want to put this kindly? It's like an old horse that ought to be put out of its misery, but no one's got the willingness or the ability to do it in this respect.
Yep.
New media, us, Chris, Sean, name the content creator, doesn't matter. We react to the news media, but we're not making news. Now that's not totally true. Daily Wire's trying to start their own stuff. Tucker's trying to start his own stuff.
Stephen Crowder and Mug Club.
Crowder, Alec, etc. But by and large, there's not like using the word network is not exactly fair, but you get my point. There's not like a hub where they're going out and sending a reporter out to cover a story, and they're coming back and they're creating content off of it. Do you think, am I wrong in thinking this, or is there something to it?
So in terms of network, in the professional sense, when comparing it to the mainstream media, no, you're not wrong. But I think in the grand scheme of things, I think you're missing the power of X.
Okay.
It comes back to that citizen journalism. How often do you see news break on X and then 24, 48 hours later, MSNBC or Fox News is commenting on it?
Okay.
Or they're investigating and they're putting their spin on it.
Okay. Okay.
Look at Hurricane Helene.
Okay.
If we were reliant strictly on the mainstream media and cable news, we would have had no idea how bad it actually was. Without platforms like X,
okay,
we would never have seen the true extent of the damage.
Yeah.
And okay. So it's one of those things where I don't think you're wrong in the assessment, but I think you're looking at it from the same model.
Okay, I think that's fair.
It's two very different models, and it kind of comes back to that idea of decentralization. You're seeing a lot of projects that are moving to like a crowdsourcing. So, for example, Helium Mobile is super interesting.
Okay, tell me about it.
So they're built on the I want to say it's the Solana blockchain, and essentially, what they do is they give you buy a little box. It's like a hotspot, and that essentially acts as your tower. So if you have that, placed in your home or wherever, People within whatever radius, as long as they have a Helium mobile SIM card, can actually use that hotspot as like a cellular like data network.
Okay.
And so people are buying these little hubs, and they're mining crypto in the process. So they're making money by doing it, but it's all community sourced. Same thing with a company called Hive Mapper. They're selling dash cams. And so when people are buying their road facing dash cams, they're driving down the road, and similar to Waze, it's giving them real time updates. So if somebody watches an accident, you're not waiting for them to report it. The dash cam is picking that up, and it's automatically adjusting routes.
Okay.
And it's moving to that era of crowdsourcing. So, to say there's a publication going out and doing it, no, that format's dead. And I say that because that's anytime you have a supreme overlord, you're always going to have a directive. You're going to have a mission.
Yeah.
Whether that is just to get clicks or it's, to put a spin on it and try to change the narrative. When you have massive amounts of crowdsourcing like X, and you have programs like Community Notes, there's almost no chance of that happening as long as you can back it up.
Okay.
So I think from the perspective you were looking at it from, you're not wrong. But when you take a step back and you look at the big picture,
the broader model,
yeah, two completely different models.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. If the mainstream media is on its last leg, either because of the content creators on Twitter, which Gypsy rightly points out, one of my regulars on the YouTube side, or just other formats where news information can be created for content purposes, then how much longer is the mainstream media as we know it right now? How much longer are they going to be able to survive? Because I mean, the reason I'm asking that question, I mean, it's been widely reported that MSNBC, Comcast is got them up on the block.
15,000 viewers. That's it.
Yeah.
Nationwide.
In their main demographic in certain hours of the night. And I'm sitting there going, there is no way in the world that with that kind of overhead and that little viewership, that sooner or later they're going to start I mean, yeah, they're obviously losing money, but sooner or later it's going to be the advertisers going to be like, nope, if you can't draw any more people to your network than that, we're out of here. Yeah. I mean, it's got to happen at some point.
Ultimately, I think the mainstream media is kind of a part of a bigger apparatus, right? In the fact that I think they're going to try to pump as much money into the news outlets as they possibly can for the next, I'd say 5 years at least.
Okay. Because
when mainstream cable news collapses, so does the rest of network television. We're already starting to see certain effects on network TV. WWE, for example, they're moving their flagship show, Monday Night Raw, to Netflix.
Yeah.
In 2025.
Yeah.
And you're starting to see, platforms like Peacock, things like that are doubling down on the originals because people are cutting the cord and going to online platforms. So if the mainstream media dies, the majority of the advertising that is done in between news segments.
Yeah.
It's insanity. So when you start losing that money, you're going to start to see this whole concept of network TV collapse. And those people are not going to let that happen quietly. They're going to go down fighting tooth and nail until the very end, because let's be honest, the cable TV guys, they're outdated. They're stuck in their ways and they don't want to move into the future. Look at Rumble. No Fox News Channel, no CNN page, no MSNBC page.
Right.
But yet the news networks that are doing really well, like Newsmax and Real America's Voice, those guys they're like simulcasting to every freaking platform you can imagine.
Yeah.
And more and more companies are starting to add in live streaming. Gettr has it now. Truth Social has Truth TV. Granted, that's kind of a flop. They need to diversify their catalog a little more.
Agreed.
Stream right-wing media.
Okay.
But you're starting to see that happen, where companies that want to stay ahead are moving into a digital format.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same concept as newspapers. There's still a couple of them hanging around. But they've all shifted to like an online first format.
Yeah. It's funny because in my hometown, when I was a kid growing up, and granted I was a little bit weird, still am, I would get up in the morning, and it would be somewhere between 6:15 and 7 a.m., and I had a very simple routine. I would go to the kitchen table, grab the newspaper, check out the front page, go straight to the op-ed, see which columnists were there, which was usually William F. Buckley Jr., Art Buchwald, Walter Williams, Buchanan, a handful of others. Go to the sports page, check out the headlines. I'm done. I'm out the door. Then my local newspaper around here did something radical. They stopped publishing a Monday edition of the newspaper. Oh, people around here were like, "Well, my God," because it's a very old school community. Okay, I jokingly refer to my hometown as the Shire.
That's kind of a gutsy move, because that the Sunday paper is always the big thing, but Monday is the big news cycle now.
Well, then about maybe a year to 18 months later, they stopped publication of the Sunday newspaper. So now you've got Sunday and Monday and no physical newspaper. Digital's there, no actual physical paper. And it's true with, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette did this. Up in your neck of the woods did the exact same thing.
Yep.
And newspapers across the country are doing it. And, I was just sitting here, you were talking about, they're going to like streaming content. Chris Wallace, there's an argument. Did he leave CNN or did they leave him? But either way, he's like, I think I'm going to do what Tucker's doing. I'm going to start my own thing. And I'm thinking, okay, Chris, more power to you, brother, if you can make it work. I don't think it's going to work for him because he's too, and it's nothing against his talents as an interviewer. He's good.
Right.
But I just don't think he can make that happen.
I don't think he's going to make it happen naturally, because he's used to having everything fed to him. And actually one mainstream media guy that I think is doing it very well and does not get enough credit is Piers Morgan.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Uncensored. It goes back to what you were saying earlier, where it's not bringing on a panel of people for a 2-minute segment. It's an hour-long show with a panel deep diving into this stuff. It gets a little chaotic, but he lets them fight it out.
Yeah,
he calls the bullshit out on both sides. Similar to what he's doing, the modern format of Real Time with Bill Maher.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, and here's one of the reasons why the mainstream media is out and out just dying. Here you have Rachel Maddow, $25 million a year. She works one night a week. That's it. And I'm sitting here going, and how you justify that salary? I'm telling. There was a running joke going around on Twitter for a while, and you probably heard this. People were trying to get Elon Musk to buy MSNBC.
Yeah.
And I thought, and I kept saying
Donald Trump Jr.
Yeah, and I keep seeing these ratings numbers come out for MSNBC, and I'm sitting there going, he'll get that if he were really genuinely serious about it. He could get that network for a song.
Yep,
it'd be peanuts what you could buy it for. It's ridiculous, but
I don't think it's a good move.
I don't think it would be either.
I think if he's going to take it digitally, maybe. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if he's going to try to keep it as a cable news platform, it's a waste of money.
No. Yeah. Now to that end, on the other side of the coin, where do you see social media in about 5 or 10 years? And I know that's kind of broad. Let me see if I can narrow that down a little bit. I think the 2024 election, and I'm not just saying this necessarily because Trump won, there are so many things that changed because of the way things were done in the 2024 election. I mean,
this was the very first internet election, essentially.
Yeah. For example, you and I were running live streams on election night. You had election night coverage. I had election night coverage. And, Chris from My Morning Mayhem was gracious to kind of pop back and forth between both of ours, which, thank him to death for it. But I heard one statistic that social media, regardless of what platform you were talking about, got more views, more people tuning in, if I'm going to use that word, more people, eyes on social media watching election night coverage than the networks got. And I'm sitting there going,
Rumble beat the major networks.
Yeah.
Like, that's huge. This is Rumble. This is, they've been around for a while, but they've really just kind of come into their own recently.
Yeah.
And this is a small company going up against YouTube. They were narrowing in. They were zeroing in on YouTube's numbers.
Yep.
And they had almost no latency issues.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, my little stream, my user page has like less than 100 followers.
Right.
And I somehow amassed 4,000 views between X and Rumble.
That's great.
That tells you people were flocking away from the networks. I had people in the chat that were like, "Yeah, I found you on the Brave search engine." And I'm like, "That's crazy." And they stayed with us the rest of the night.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Same with mine.
Tired of the constant narratives being pushed.
Yeah. Well, they're tired of the narratives being pushed. They're tired of the insincerity. They're tired of, if I may be crass and use the statement, they're tired of people pissing down their back and looking at them saying, "Oh, did you feel the rain?" No, you pissed down my back, and I know you're pissing down my back. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And it just, I think, and again, I want your take on this. I think the 2024, not just the election, but just the year thereof, is a major turning point on so many levels societally, but particularly in the area of information and news and how people acquire it.
Yeah.
Because I think we're at an inflection point, and now it's, social media, to use a Southern expression, is feeling their oats, so to speak. They're like, "Ooh, we just kicked their ass.
Yep.
We just held them by the nose and we just kicked them in the rear end." And the thing is, you're going to have content creators, you, Chris, Sean, my good buddy Mike Harlow, which I think you've been on Mike's channel before, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm on my show a couple of times too.
Carrie Smith, Gothics. I mean, you and I could sit here and just name names all day long.
Yeah.
As the years go by and everybody gets grooved in real good with what they do and how they do it, we're just gonna bleed legacy media. And I'm not saying that, with malicious glee. Too much.
I am.
Well, okay. I'm a touch. I'm older. I'm a touch more diplomatic. But
I don't believe in diplomacy.
Scorched earth, salt the earth when we're done with it.
Exactly, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall
and then blow it up.
Yeah, right. And blow it up. Sweep up the ashes. And then drop them off on your worst enemy's doorstep.
Exactly. It's like, oh, you want a doggy bag? But I mean, I think that we are, and I use the royal we here. I think we are at a point where the American people, and that's the other fascinating thing about this. After this election, you've got the populist left and the populist right kind of look at each other going, "Okay, I don't agree with you on everything, but I think I'm to the point now. Screw those guys. They've been holding us all back. Can we get together on some stuff and make some things happen?" And I think you're seeing that with media too. I mean, and maybe he's doing this for clicks. Maybe he's doing this for whatever. Cenk Uygur right now is intriguing the crap out of me. He really is.
It's weird.
Oh no. And don't get me wrong. I'm just like with everybody. It's like, okay, I'll trust you when I can verify, but let's just see where you're going here, dude. I just think this is a fascinating point. So, I mean, your thoughts on it all?
So on the Cenk subject, he's consistent.
Okay.
And I think what people are finally starting to realize is that we may not agree on everything. We may not agree on methodology, but
True.
we agree on basic concepts, right? The military industrial complex is way too powerful. It needs to be reined in. We need to stop getting involved in everybody's business. The medical industrial complex is completely out of hand. We have the sickest population on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
These sides are finally kind of coming together and going, okay, well, I don't like the way you want to do it, but let's see if we can meet in the middle. RFK, for example, said that when he was talking about Trump's transition team, he said that we are up against people and we're going to have to fight for our vision within this. That's what it is. It's that concept of reaching across the aisle and being able to pull in the moderates and come together and go, okay, well, we agree. Bernie Sanders has been posting that he agrees with a lot of what Trump's transition team's doing. And it's like, hold up, wait a minute. That crazy old communist. Are you kidding me? Like people are finally coming together and they're realizing, and I think this is why it's working, is we have shifted, and we, meaning the alternative media, we've shifted away from here's what we disagree on. And the first topic we hit is, okay, what do we agree on?
Mm-hmm.
And now we agree on this. How do we do it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you start discourse. It's not an argument. That's where you start discourse. When you find common ground and you say, okay, we're aligned here. We might not be ideologically aligned, but we have the same goal.
Yeah.
How do we compromise and make everyone happy?
Yeah.
It's something that we've lost in American politics.
I'll agree with that.
Largely due to the influence of mainstream media, because let's be real, the heads of these media companies are some of the largest political donors on the planet.
Yep.
They go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So, and that has led to the environment that we're in, where, we had a presidential candidate almost die on stage because some whacked out lunatic tried to kill him.
Yep.
We wound up with that because we were completely divided. And I give Elon Musk and Chris Pavlovsky a lot of credit, because I think, to your point, those guys have essentially altered the course of history, not just social media, not just American politics, but they have changed the course of history globally. Look at Brazil. Brazil banned X for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Boom, back on.
Yep.
People are finally being given platforms where they can have quote unquote dissenting opinions from the people in charge, the big guy, so to speak.
Yeah.
Having that has changed a lot.
No, I agree.
Look at what just happened in France.
Yeah, they took the parliament is dissolved. Yeah, it's collapsed.
Yeah. And if you didn't have places where you could get people together and make shit happen, it wouldn't happen. People would just be comfortable living under someone else's rule, being under someone else's boot all the time.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, think about it. Do you think that Trump would have won this election if it wasn't for platforms like X and Rumble?
If Jack Dorsey and the old regime were still controlling Twitter, there is no way in the world Donald Trump wins this election.
Exactly.
I mean, the election of Donald Trump in 2024 is the great confluence of a whole bunch of little things together that, when you take them in their totality, it added up to him winning. I mean, it starts with Elon buying Twitter. And this was what, 2022, 2023, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Then you have the fact that, Trump announces he's back in.
Yep.
I would argue the attempted lawfare, the mugshot in Atlanta,
huge
in that moment was a game changer. I'm going to say something that's going to sound almost counterintuitive.
Yep.
There are so many moving. We move. You're right. Information moves at the speed of light in this era.
Yeah.
But I would argue that there were certain still moments, still photos that defined 2024. The mugshot in Atlanta. Trump raising his fist in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
The picture of Donald Trump. Oh God, we got to talk about that here in a second. The picture of Donald Trump looking out the window at McDonald's and waving in the apron, and I'm like, the picture of Donald Trump in the trunk, in the garbage truck.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here going, you can't make that stuff up.
No,
you can't do it. But all right, let me do one last quick commercial. We'll shift gears and we'll take the train into the station.
Works for me.
This gentleman right over here is Real Robert Herr on Twitter. He's Real Robert Herr in real life, and he is the proprietor of the WashCast channel on Rumble. He is also business owner, entrepreneur, and just all around very nice gentleman. We're glad to have him here on the Electronic Front Porch. And this guy,
madman.
Do what?
I'm a madman. Don't let him lie to you, folks.
But you're a little more subdued than Sean. We'll give you that much.
It's the quiet ones you got to watch.
Yeah, I agree with that. And my name is Brian Tripp, and I'm the Front Porch Conservative. You can find me on Rumble. You can find me on Twitter, and you can find me on that quaint little alternative social media platform known as YouTube. So if you would not mind, give him a sub. Give me a sub on both platforms. I genuinely appreciate it because we's that close, folks, to 1,000 on YouTube. Just that close. Come on, help a brother out. All right, talk about Butler for a second, because I wanted to ask you about Pennsylvania, but I got a couple more social media questions. But tell me about Butler. I mean, because where were you? Were you back there behind the podium, in front of the podium? Where were you at?
So I was further back. I had actually left to go back to my car originally, and I would have been pretty close, but I wanted to go back to my car. I was getting a headache, so I wanted to go grab ibuprofen.
Sure.
We were out in the heat all day. I was probably dehydrated.
Yeah.
But, coming back in, I was closer to the back. And when the sounds first went off, when the shots first rang out, I think the initial thought with everybody was some asshole lighting off firecrackers.
Yeah.
Because it didn't register right away that they were gunshots until, Trump hit the deck, Secret Service came running in, and you heard the loud boom, that last shot from the counter sniper.
Right.
And it hit me. I was like, oh, they just tried to kill him. And I tweeted that on that day. I said, they tried to kill him. They fucking tried to kill him.
Yeah.
It was the one thing that was really amazing about that, though. And it kind of restored a little bit of faith in humanity for me, was once everyone realized what had happened, there wasn't a stampede. There wasn't people running for their lives. The first thing that everyone that I saw did was they turned to the people next to them. Are you okay? Is everybody good? Everybody was good.
Yeah.
All was well for the most part. Obviously, unfortunately, we had two people severely injured, and Corey Comparator, lost his life.
Right.
In that, but there was a very human element to it. And when it came time, when Secret Service was ushering everybody out, it was calm. It was orderly. People were pissed. People were pissed off. I mean, I was out handing out water to people all day with the Trump campaign. People that were passing out from heat exhaustion that were there. They weren't just disappointed that they almost watched him die, but there was that level of disappointment and anger of like, we were out here all day for this, and you gave us, like, what was it, 8 minutes?
Yeah.
And boom, gunshots rang out.
Yeah.
So it was something that I never wanted to experience in my life. And I hope I never experience it again,
Yeah.
because it was, for guys like me, and I didn't do half the work that guys like Scott Pressler
Sure.
and, the folks from Turning Point did, but, to put time and effort into that campaign, because it was something that we believed in, to see that happen for a split second, it was like the hope was shattered and it was gone.
Yeah.
And I don't know that, had Thomas Crooks been successful in his mission, I don't know that we would have ever recovered from that. Ever.
I don't think we would have.
That would have been the nail in the coffin.
Yeah. The movement that is now ascending in America, much to the chagrin of the establishment. And when I say the establishment, I don't mean just the Democrats. I'm talking about the Republicans. The movement that has ascended in this country right now would have stopped right there. And it might have gone on, but it would have taken years before you get somebody with the magnetism, the ability politically of a Donald Trump.
Yeah.
It absolutely would. Now let's shift it back to social media for a second. So you've had this channel going since March, and I found you through Leah. God love her. She's in the Rumble chat. You sweetheart of a woman. And
amazing.
Oh, Leah's just divinely wonderful. And how did you come across your compatriots, Mr. Georgia himself, Chris from the My Morning Mayhem, and Sean, the crazy Canadian from Third Railify? How did you come across these guys?
It was, I want to say I met Sean through X.
Okay.
And then through Sean, I met Chris. And, I was on Sean's show once, and then we did a show with Chris, and the chemistry between the three of us in that show, we were all just like, we had so much fun doing that. We need to do it more.
Yeah.
And so from there, it was natural, so debate streams, we did 2 of those together. Obviously the election night stream was, it was a doozy. It was 9 hours. Yeah. Oh yeah. We started at 6:30. Yeah, it was like 6:30, and I don't think we finished up till like 3:30 in the morning. So it was, those guys have become, to me, close friends. I love those guys from the bottom of my heart, and it was, I want to say it was fate.
Yeah,
because we've all tried our damnedest to try to build each other up in the process.
Sure.
So, yeah. Okay, Chris. His what are we?
Compatriots, I believe is the word I used.
Yeah.
Fellow internet sojourners. I mean, what term would you like for me to use, Chris? Trust me, I've got 53 years of vocabulary, dude. I can come up with. Oh, now he's getting close to tears. Oh.
No. Seriously though, I love those guys to death. I couldn't ask for a better group of guys to be doing this with.
I absolutely agree with you. All three of you in your own way bring something unique and fun to this crazy social media thing that we do. And it's an absolute joy. Now let's talk about Pennsylvania going forward. You mentioned it as its own form of communist country. I don't know. You guys up there in the Keystone State kind of intrigue me. And the reason I say that, there is a certain similarity between West Virginia and Pennsylvania in this respect. And, set me straight if I'm wrong on this.
Right.
If you go west of Harrisburg, like let's say in earnest, starting at Allegheny County, Pittsburgh, okay, you're talking old school Democrat, blue collar, steel workers, a lot of old factory towns, which, the factories may or may not have gone away through the passing of the years, but there's an ancestral sort of Democrat strain that goes through the Allegheny Valley, the Mahoning Valley, etc. Okay.
Yep.
Philadelphia is its own animal. Okay.
Philadelphia isn't part of the U.S. That's a third world country. Look, listen, when I went to the Trump rally in North Philly, And
Okay.
when I tell you, no joke, there are rats there that are the size of toddlers. They're scary as hell. I mean, no joke, like legit, probably the size of an infant, of a baby. Like,
Oh my Lord.
horrifyingly big. It is a third world country out there. There's trash all through the streets. You can literally just smell like weed and baked ass everywhere. Like it is not a great city to be in. Downtown's beautiful. Anything outside of that, shithole.
Okay, but let me ask you this, and you know your state better than I ever will. I mean, there's also another content creator, Christian Watson, who is from Central PA. So you guys know your state better than I do. It seems to me you guys could be right on the edge of what Scott Pressler calls the Floridization of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Scott, and again, maybe you're in contact with him, maybe you're not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that boy is absolutely determined to turn the whole of Pennsylvania into the Midwest's version of Florida. In other words, Florida about 20 years ago, you could have called it a swing state. You could have called it a swing state up until about 2012, and then after that, not anymore. Not the registration advantage. I mean, when you can call Florida at 8:05 on a presidential election night and call it for the Republican, it's gone, and it may not come back for a while. Pressler is trying to do the same thing up there. I mean, and you know your state, so I'll put it to you this way: how far away or how close are you to you guys maybe seeing you guys doing in Pennsylvania what happened down in Florida maybe about 10, 12 years ago?
So I think the main challenge, because if you look at Pennsylvania, if you look at the map this year, it was largely Philadelphia and Pittsburgh that were blue, and then one county, Center County, in the middle of the state, which is where Penn State University is.
Yeah.
So, and I pulled up the numbers here for Allegheny County specifically, because when it came down to this election, Kamala Harris got 429,916 votes. Donald Trump had 283,595.
Okay.
So there's still a gap.
Yeah.
Not a huge one. You look at the Senate race, 425,280 votes to 272,861.
Right.
So for Bob, in favor of Bob Casey. You look at your House in District 17. It was less than 50. It was decided by less than 50,000 votes. So you're seeing a lot of these areas flip.
Right.
What it comes down to is those major cities, those blue bubbles. And unfortunately, we have Pittsburgh, for example, has a lot working against it.
Sure.
You have, obviously the University of Pittsburgh. You've got Carnegie Mellon. You have a lot of colleges, Duquesne University, that are all in the city. So you have that kind of indoctrination machine that's going on. And at the same time, Pittsburgh for me is the focus, because Pittsburgh did this weird flip where, at one point Pittsburgh was what they called the white elephant.
Yeah.
A white elephant.
Yeah.
And they lost a lot of their manufacturing, a lot of the steel. Sure. They went through this huge depression, and now they've started to bring it back, because they finally realized, hey, we have some of the best engineering schools on the face of the earth here.
Truly.
When people graduate, what are they doing? They're leaving, and they're never coming back, because we have nothing. So Pittsburgh started to incentivize tech companies, and that's how you wound up with a Google office in Bakery Square. You wound up with a Microsoft office. Uber, their tech headquarters was in Pittsburgh. They tested the self-driving vehicles in Pittsburgh, which, my God, why? No one wants to drive in Pittsburgh.
Right.
But you started to see a lot of tech companies move in. So you have the college influence, you have the big tech influence, and unfortunately, the the riffraff is very easily swayed in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
On a local level, I think people are finally starting to get the hint. You know, the
Okay.
mayor there has done an absolutely horrendous job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Pittsburgh police for a while there wasn't responding to calls between the hours of 3
Jesus.
a.m. and 7 a.m.
Guess when you had the most crime? Between 3 a.m. and 7 a.m.
Yeah. So unless it was an active crime in progress, or it was you know, a attempted murder or whatever, they would direct you to a tip line, to a hotline, and they would send an officer out at 7 in the morning. So imagine this: you come home from the bar, right? You're half shot in the ass, you're fumbling with your keys, trying to get in the door, and then you look up and you're like, oh shit, my door's open. Your house has been ransacked, everything's gone. You watch the guy run out the back door, you call the police. Is he still in the house stealing stuff? No, he just took off out the back door. All right, we'll see you at 7 a.m. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh police is dumping tons of money to run trans flags on the sides of their car. People are finally kind of waking up on a local level.
Yeah.
The problem I think we saw this election, specifically with Pittsburgh and Philly, was this was not an election of we want Kamala Harris. This was an election of we don't want Trump.
Yeah.
Don't
Those
ask me
cities
why.
that being
I
the
will
case.
never understand it. But on the local level, you're starting to see people mobilize. So, and I've said from the beginning, change starts at home.
Yeah.
If you're not going to your city hall, if you're not going to your city council meetings or your borough council meetings or whatever it is, if you're not creating change within your communities, you're never going to sway the population at large.
True.
And so that this wake up that I'm seeing in Pittsburgh at the local level, I say give it another 4 to 8 years.
Okay.
I guarantee you Pennsylvania will be flat red.
Wow.
If we have guys like Scott Pressler and the folks from Turning Point out there, Scott's a friend of mine. We did horror movie nights a couple times. Like, it's just, he's a great dude. His work ethic is unmatched by anyone.
He's nuts. He's nuts.
He's a machine.
Yeah.
Dude doesn't sleep. Like, I'm pretty sure he's an Optimus robot in human skin. Like, the guy just never stops. If we can get people like him and people that are even a quarter of the work ethic, we're going to be in good shape. And a guy, I want to shout somebody out. I don't know if he's watching or not, but Pennsylvania state director for Scott's organization, Mayor JD Longo. He's the mayor of a college town called Slippery Rock here on the western side of Pennsylvania. And he served as their state director. This dude, despite having mayoral duties, a new marriage and a baby on the way, was out every single day doing voter registration events and everything else, busting his ass to get Donald Trump elected. If we can get people like that in every county, we're golden.
Yeah, golden. I agree. And from what I understand, Scott's wanting to take it across the river into New Jersey. And I tell you what, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Pennsylvania's a done deal yet. You guys are well on your way, but there is some very fertile ground in the Garden State to be, shall we say, cultivated politically.
They've been teetering since 2016.
Yeah, and I'll never forget the 2021 governor's race up there, Jack Citarelli. If he'd have had just a pinch of money, he could have beat Murphy that year.
Yep.
I mean, just even a little bit of help, just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, I get why everybody's focused on Youngkin down in Virginia. I understand. But by the same token, Citarelli's working his butt off going up and down, interstate diners and talking to people and just old school, retail politicking. And I'm sitting there going, well, somebody give this man some money. Please, for the love of God.
As much as I hate the fact that money is so prevalent in politics, I don't like to think it's the end all be all, because fun fact, the People's Convention this past summer, Scott did a fundraiser in Michigan,
right,
first fundraiser ever.
Okay.
He's been doing this since 2022.
Oh my goodness.
Man has put his heart and soul and his money, his
Mhm.
own money into this. He was driving a beat up freaking Honda or Toyota
I heard about
the
this.
longest time. You know,
Yep.
that was another amazing thing with social media. Everybody came together and they pitched in for $100,000 Suburban
Yep.
for him, you know,
Yeah.
and he put time and money into it. So there's a way to make it work and make it
Yep.
happen without massive backing.
Yep.
The problem is we live in an age where everyone feels entitled, everyone likes to be comfortable, and
Yep.
no one wants to make a sacrifice to do it. I
Yep.
think that's going to change because you have guys like Donald Trump, Elon Musk, that, you know, Vivek Ramaswamy, for example.
Yeah.
Any of those three guys could be kicking it up with their feet up on a beach, drinking margaritas, surrounded by beautiful people, doing whatever the hell they want to do. And yet here they are, ready to go into the Washington swamp to try to make a change. Elon Musk, look at the hits he's taken. He's still the richest man in the world, but
Yep.
look at how much he's been knocked down. Look at Donald Trump, how much he's been knocked down, but he's still doing it. He's making sacrifices for the greater good. And as long as we have those types of figures influencing, I think money is going to play less and less of a role in the future.
Agreed.
In terms of changing hearts and minds.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, Trump spent probably what, $500 million total. Kamala had like $1.5 billion, burned through it, and she literally did not win a single or flip
a single
state. Or not just swing state, take it down to the county level. I will never forget the reaction on CNN when John King told Jake Tapper, yeah, she hasn't improved her numbers in any county over what Joe Biden did. He's like, and Tapper was just shocked. He's like, what? None of them?
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, none? He's like, yeah, that's how bad it is.
And look at the Capitol she burned. You know, look at the Sphere in Las Vegas. I made a very crude joke about it, but Kamala Harris spent $900,000. It's almost $1 million to get her face on a ball instead of doing her usual, which is having balls on her face. I'm just saying. She spent $900,000 to get her face on the Sphere in Vegas, and it did absolutely nothing. What was the one podcast she did? Was it Call Her Daddy?
Yeah, Call Her Daddy.
One of them. She spent $500,000 on the fucking set.
Yeah,
it was practically cardboard.
Yeah, and there's no reason for any of that. Yeah. None. Yeah, well, it's crazy.
I think that's a large portion of why, you know, everybody likes to say that, oh, it was Biden's, you know, fuck you for being pushed out. I don't think that's what it was. I think it was the fact that there was already so much money dumped into those campaigns. And let's be real, they're laundering that money.
Yeah,
right back into the PAC's pockets and the politicians' pockets. And so what was the best way? I think they knew Kamala Harris did not have a path to victory, and the only thing they were worried about is saving their butts. Well, look how that worked. She's still, what is it, 20 million in debt?
Yeah. Yeah.
And she lost. She's texting, they're texting people going, hey, donate to us. And it's like, dude, it's over. You lost.
Yeah, that gravy train's gone, baby.
File bankruptcy and get out.
Exactly.
DNC is cooked, and it makes you wonder what they're going to do in 4 years.
Yep. I agree.
You know, Bidenomics. You pay taxes, I give money to Ukraine, money comes back to me. That's how it works.
Learn to code.
Yeah.
All right. Tell you what. All right. So let's wrap it up. And here's my last question.
Sure.
Let's talk about you for a second. Sky. It sounds like sky's the limit, man. The business is going to grow. You're about to enter a really good period, you know, with Trump in the Oval Office, hopefully, barring some tariff policy that could, you know, where do you see, the business and the social media channel in, let's say, the next 18, 24 months?
So I'm very, very conservative when it comes to growth on the business end, because I learned through two of my former employers that in the line of work that I'm in, the number one way to kill your business is to grow too quick.
Yep.
So I would like to have within the next 2 years, I'd like to be active in at least 3 states.
Okay.
As far as the channel goes, like I said, it's first and foremost, it's for me.
Mhm.
I don't care if 5 people watch it or 5,000 people watch it. It's ultimately, I'm just a guy that likes talking to cool people. That's why I'm here. It's what I do. It's something that I enjoy, and it's almost a release. I spend most of the week in front of a computer screen, trying to build a business, and it's a grind. It is a grind, and it is mentally taxing, especially when it's stagnant, like it wasn't, this year. And so this for me is a way to, in some cases, vent some frustration, but it also gives my brain a way to break out of the grind mode and just focus on things that I like to focus on. And one of those ways is learning.
Yeah.
Because you spend so much time working. And I think that's a problem with society, is people spend too much time working and not enough time learning, not enough time growing.
Yeah.
And so I would like to say that, in 2 years, I'll still be cranking away on the shows, hopefully have a little bit nicer of a studio set up. So it doesn't look like I'm, in grandma's house, but it's ultimately for me. I like to think the sky's the limit, but I'm just looking to climb one rung on the ladder at a time. And if somehow I reach the heavens, great. If I fly too close to the sun and end up falling, well, so be it. Guess what? I'm going to dust myself off and go right back to it.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, Robert, this has been an absolute pleasure, and you're welcome back here anytime you want to come on, man. You know where to find me on Twitter.
You tell me when.
You just shoot me a DM and just say, "Hey, man, I got something burning on the brain." I'm like, "Okay, when do you want to do it?"
Well, let's get you on the WashCast soon.
All right. You know where to find me. Let's figure out a date and we'll make it happen.
Right on, man. Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
No, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Now, where can people find you on social media? What can they do to help you out? How can they help you grow as far as the things you're working on right now?
So you can find me at Real Robert Herr on X, Instagram, Truth Social, Gettr, the WashCast on Rumble as well. I broadcast all of the podcast episodes from my personal Twitter, so you can follow me there. I do actually have a program that I just started up with the business, and this is a way for people to make money. It's an affiliate referral program. So all you do is refer somebody. If we close the deal, you get 5% of the earnings for the first year of the contract, and then if we renew it, it drops down to 3%, and then it drops down as well. But it's passive income. All you do is refer people and set up a meeting. So it's tons of ways to do it. That's huge. I need as many affiliates as I can because I'm a one-man sales team. So trying to do that, plus all the admin, especially with our lovely theft season coming up. It's always fun. But you guys, if anybody's interested, if you know people that potentially need the services, we do a little bit of everything. There's a full training and a workup. I do like a one-to-one call to give people an in-depth idea of what we do, and then from there it's just you make the referral, we close the deal. If we close the deal, you make money, and you don't have to do a damn thing after that. So works out great. And as far as the podcast goes, share it with your friends. Check out some old episodes. Leave a comment, like the video, whatever it is. As of right now, there's 25 episodes up. So it's it's usually like a once a week or once every 2 weeks.
Okay.
and don't be afraid to interact. Reach out, send me a DM on X. I think my DMs are open to everybody. So
Okay.
let's get to know each other. That's what I'm
Absolutely.
here for. It's human connection.
Absolutely. Well, hang on one second. We'll say some goodbyes backstage. Folks, I want to thank you for stopping by this session of Chatting on the Porch. As always, you've been absolutely wonderful. I will be back this Saturday morning, 10:30 a.m. for Front Porch Brunch, where we take the weekend and a little bit of time to catch up on things going on in the news. So in the meanwhile, thank you guys again so much for being here. And remember the words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall, when he said, "It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money." Love you guys. We'll see you Saturday morning, and have a great night.
Cheers. Thank you, guys.